Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the first Spring 2024 update from GavsWeatherVids. So I've taken a month off after releasing the winter 2023-24 forecast. We are back with the long range, and here we go again. We're going to bring you more long range data and analogues. This time we're looking at spring 2024, and the GWV Spring forecast will be released at the end of February. So we're doing spring updates from now right way through to the end of February. And update number 1 is going to be looking at December to spring data. I shall get on that for you in a moment. Just to say that first video sales are 6 a.m. UK weather forecast. Got 10 to 14 there coming for you later on this afternoon as well. And don't forget, we're live at 6 p.m. We're going to have our Sunday evening, Sunday night live stream. We'll be live streaming 12 there. We'll do ensembles watch. We might do mini snow watch as well. Taking some questions too. So if you've got any questions about the spring update, then hold fire on those. I'll do a best to answer them for you on our live stream. And it's going to be great. So I shall see you at 6 p.m. Now, look at this. We've got 2 new cuties. It's so much richer for our spring updates gift. We're getting these 2 little bunnies. Are they bunnies or are they guinea pigs? I think they're bunnies. Getting these two little bundles of fluff together for us. But we're going to be naming those, by the way, in 2 or 3 weeks. So get your thinking caps on. And we'll be putting your suggestions for that duo of a name picker in a couple of weeks' time. But you're all wondering, where's Fluffy? What happened to Fluffy? Well, I can tell you that Fluffy has been fired. Fluffy's gone. Fluffy's history. Now, we did actually fire Fluffy last year. No, we had negotiations to bring Fluffy back for the spring 2023 update, but they fell through and her demands were just too great. However, when we signed off on, we didn't tell anybody this, but when we signed off on the spring 2023 forecast at the end of May, we went into negotiations with Fluffy and her agent. So Richard and I, have been in exhaustive negotiations with Fluffy all the way through the second half of 2023. We got towards Christmas. It actually looked like Fluffy was coming back. We signed a contract with Fluffy to bring her back from LA for a season of spring updates. But we did actually sign it on our side, but Fluffy didn't sign it on her side. And at the last minute, she tried to put in a clause. She tried to up her billing, essentially. She wanted actually to become the top billed star of the show, of the updates. And of course, you get top billing, then you get top revenue, you see. So she basically tried to inflate her price. We'd already guaranteed her a lifetime supply of carrots and lettuce leaves, but that wasn't enough for her. So at that point, I tore up the contract. I said, well, I'm sorry, Fluffy, but we're not doing this. We've got as far as we can go. And so Richard got our 2 little bundles of fluff all ready to go for us. So I said, we're gonna, I'm sorry, Fluffy, but we're done. We're out. And I tore up the contract. I said, you're gonna have to go back to LA, and me and Rich, we're gonna present our 2 new little bundles of fluff. So she went back to LA. I've not heard from her since, but I have had a few rumours along the grapevine, actually, and I think Richard will be able to confirm this, that she's out of her apartment. So I don't know what's happened. I think she might have been trying to up her billing and, her financial status, her payday, because she got in a bit of financial trouble in LA. I think she's been living it up over there, actually. I think she's been living it up. So she's out of her apartment. Where's she going to come back to this country? Where is she going to stay in LA? If she does, she's going to get something smaller, and it just goes to show what can go wrong if you're too demanding, if you're a diva. She became a diva, and we couldn't put up with it. So, she's been brought down to earth, though. No, she's out of her apartment. That's what I've heard, anyway. So rumours along the grapevine that Fluffy's been put out. She got back from LA. All the stuff was packed up and it was on the whatever they call it, the boardwalk, it's the sidewalk, and she gotta get out. So there there you go, everybody. Fluffy development. If I hear any more, I'll let you know. But meanwhile, we're going to carry on with our two little cuties here. So we're going to be naming those, as I say, in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you, Shona Richard, and our little bundles of fluff there for our Spring 2024 updates gift. And thanks to Shryan as well. Thanks to Shryan for getting together all of the analogues for us. Right, well, I think we're going to have to bring that bombshell news about Fluffy. I reckon we'd better crack on with our first Spring 2024 update. So the first thing we're going to look at is the December Central England temperature. So I can tell you that December, this is a CET page, and I'm happy, by the way, going all the way back to 1659. I can tell you that December CET came out at a very nice round 7.0. It's a very mild December indeed, and that places it within the top 10 mildest warmest Decembers on record since 1950. So, very simply, we are going to be looking at, because like a countdown at GavsWeatherVids, you know, we always have done, we're going to be looking at springs following the top 10 mildest December. So we're starting at number 10 here. So here we go, number 10, it's December 2021, and the spring that follows it, of course, is spring of 2022. That is quite a warm, mild spring with above average heights sitting over and to the east of the country as well, like warm weather in the spring of 2022. At number 9, we got 2006, the ninth mildest December was 2006, the spring of 2007 looks like that. Anticyclone still, a lot of high pressure in control. What you don't get from that, though, is that we had a very wet May. So March and April were exceptionally dry, high pressure dominated months. Really warm in April. We basically had summer in April of 2007, but in May it all starts to wobble, and we end up in a cold, wet pattern, culminating, of course, in that atrocious June and July of 2007, where it didn't stop raining and we have flooding rains. At number 8, we've got December 1971. This is how the spring of 1972 looks, unsettled with quite a bit of low pressure well and truly in control. Then at number 7, we've got December 1954. So that was a very mild December. It was followed by a much colder January and February. Interesting. Anyway, the spring of 1955 keeps that sort of block pattern from January and February going. So it's quite a cold spring, I think, with higher pressure weight to the northwest, low pressure to the east, and winds coming in from quite a cold sort of northerly, northeasterly direction there. And then at number 6, we've got 2018. So the spring of 2019 was quite dry and fairly warm as well, with high pressure both to the north and also to the south, quite anticyclone spring, that one. At number 5, we've got 1953, so very interesting. We've got two very mild Decembers, 53 and 54 back to back there, both followed by quite cold, certainly February's anyway, and in the case of 1955, January as well. So this is how the spring of 1954 looks, though. So that has a cold February in 1954, after that very mild December. And that sort of blocking pattern carries on into the spring as well. So it's the early part of the spring, low pressure south, high pressure north, very easterly spring. That, remember, spring's a transitioning season, so you get easterlies in March. They are likely to be cold, possibly even very cold. If you get easterlies in May, then they're going to be relatively warm. Oh, at number 4, we've got 2023. So that's where December 2023 comes in on the top 10 list, and it comes out at number 4. Of course, we don't know yet what spring 2024 has in store. They're the questions to answer, and that's what we're going to attempt to do with our spring updates and ultimately the spring 2024 forecast. Right, we're top 3 now. At number 3, the third mildest December is 1988. That's an exceptionally mild one, wasn't it? And the spring of 1989 was actually cooler and wetter through the early part of it. So low pressure dominated spring overall, and it's quite an unsettled March in 1989, but relatively mild. April 89 is very wet and cold. There are some snow, excuse me, there are some snowfalls in April 1989. What you don't get from that analogue is that it does turn a lot warmer and drier into May 89, starting off what becomes actually quite a long, hot summer. And then at number 2, we've got 1974, though the spring of 1975 is quite cold, following the second warmest December since 1950. We have quite a cold spring in 1975, especially so in April of 75, when again there are some late season snowfalls. And then at number 1, I'm sure you knew what it was, can't forget it, can we? At number 1, we have got 2015, so obliterating, smashing, you know, absolutely destroying all other mild Decembers is December 2015. It obliterates the previous record by over a degree. The spring of 2016 is actually quite a coldish spring, especially the earlier part of it, with blocking to the north, low pressure, south winds in for years. Again, that has quite a potent cold snap in April of 2016. Well, maybe there's a connection here between mild Decembers and colder Aprils, who knows. Right, okay, so this is how all March is combined, looking following the top 10 warmest Decembers. Very unsettled signal for his Marches, not particularly cold, just lots of low pressure around the Atlantic and Western Europe, so you expect plenty of March rainfall there. All Aprils combined does have a colder signal though, low pressure goes southwards, the mid-Atlantic ridge extends back into the north. The wind direction with these Aprils a lot of the time would be coming in from the north and from the northeast. Of course, there will be Aprils that are deviating from that. For example, 2022 wasn't a particularly cold April at all, but averaging it all out, it is a signal perhaps for a colder April there. And then all Mays go back to unsettled and not overly cold weather, so low pressure back for the Mays with high pressure from the Azores to our southwest, reversing us back to a generally mild Atlantic type flow. Quite an unsettled spring signal, but with a drier sandwich in the middle and a colder sandwich in the middle from April as well. All springs combined look like that, so we get some blocking up to the north. That's primarily down to the Aprils, of course, with low pressure to the south, but every month is very individual, so I'm not sure how useful that particular analogue is. Right, so that's the first set done. Back to our lovely little cuties. Right, that's the first set done. We're going to crack on though with the second set. This time we're going to be looking at December England and Wales precipitation. So, December's England and Wales precipitation, or England-Wales precipitation, came out at 161.3 millimetres. That was 156% of average. And I can tell you that that also places December 2023 within the top 10 wettest Decembers as well. So we're going to do another countdown. Not one, but 2 countdowns on this one. Not off. So here we go again then. At number 10, the 10th wettest December was 2002. And that leads us to a warm and dry spring though in 2003. You remember 2003 was a very hot summer and a very extended summer as well. It gets going in the spring actually. The pattern of the summer is already getting itself together in the spring and goes on into September as well of 2003. I can tell you that also. No, it's a warm and dry spring, very warm, particularly warm, dry in March actually. But April and May also having plenty of dry and often quite warm weather. Now that's a bit of a classic spring for anyone who likes warm and dry conditions to start us off in 2003. At number 9, we've got 1989. So the 9th wettest December is 1989, leading to the spring of 1990, which again, the pattern of the summer is beginning to reveal itself during this spring. Higher pressure to the south, lower pressure up to the north. Jet stream is pushed northwards as well. So again, relatively warm and dry spring following on from an exceptionally wet and mild winter, setting up a hot summer for 1990. At number 8, we've got 1979. So this is the spring of 1980. This one has high pressure to the north, low pressure to the south, quite a lot of easterly winds, very easterly spring that and often quite mild, I think, not anything overly dramatic going on in that particular spring. At number 7, the 7th wettest December is 2020. The spring of 2021 is very cold, certainly the first part of the spring, actually, with high pressure out in the Atlantic, low pressure is away to the east and winds are in from the north. So it's actually the middle and latter part of the spring that's very cold. So it has the coldest April, I think I'm right, from memory. It's our last cold every season, by the way, spring 2021. But was, up to now. And I believe it had the coldest April since 1986 and the coldest May, or the coolest May, since 1996. So it was a very notably cold spring that we had in 2001 there. And there we see it at number 7. There we are at number 6. That's 2023. So the 6th wettest December since 1950 was, in fact, 2023. There, the questions we're answering again for the spring of 2024. Questions. Question time. I don't know. At number 5, we've got 1959. So December 1959, after a very, very dry year, we have the 5th wettest December since 1950. But the spring of 1960 is a warm and dry spring. High pressure centred over Scandinavia. A lot of easterly winds in that spring of 1960. At number 4, we've got 1993. So the 4th wettest December 1993. Spring 1994 was unsettled, very wet with low pressure over and to the north of the country. Did also have quite a potent cold snap, but I remember well around Easter in early April of 1994. And then we're top 3 now. At number 3, we've got 1978. So the 3rd wettest December was actually within the winter discontent, a very, very cold winter. Well, certainly it's very cold January and February, but December was more noteworthy for the rainfall that fell during that winter. The 3rd wettest December, exceptionally wet December in 1978. The spring of 1979 just basically continues the pattern of a winter. So when you have a very cold winter, very often that pattern will carry on into the spring, particularly the earlier part of the spring. So you still see the blocking there in the North Atlantic and towards Greenland as well through this spring, with low pressure, big trough across the west of Europe. So regularly cold, often wintry, even into May of 1979, there is still snow falling at times. So the pattern of winter just ongoing into the spring, which often does happen after you have a very cold winter. But interestingly, didn't happen after the Daddy of Cold Winters, 1963, actually. Anyway, let's crack on. At number 2, so we top 2 now. The 2nd wettest December is 1965. The spring of 1966, also just very unsettled, quite mild, but a lot of rain. It's an exceptionally wet year that we have in 1966. That's a mild wet one. And then at number 1, the wettest December since 1950 is actually 2012, and the spring of 2013 is a cold spring as well, with blocking up to the north, low pressure is over the country, and you'll remember we did have an exceptionally cold spell during March into April of 2013, where there is heavy snow, drifting, blizzards, all of that going on in the second half of March through to early April 2013. Coldest period, but I can never remember in my lifetime for that, and around the Easter as well of 2013, the ground was frozen solid. We came out of that really cold spell in the second half of April, but nevertheless, it was still quite cool, even for May. The 2013 was below average, so that finishes us off with a very cold spring there. Right, let's just put all that together then, and then we'll be done with this first spring update. If you enjoy the video, please can you like, share, subscribe, thanks so much everyone for doing that. Okay, so all March combined, based on, I haven't done this, I'm a bit rusty, I haven't done this for a month. All Marches combined, following the top 10 wettest December, looks unsettled, low pressure dominating the weather in these Marches. Not particularly cold signal, despite having 2013, for example, in the mix. It's not a particularly cold signal, just with winds heading in from off the Atlantic. All Aprils combined look like that, so we get a ridge just out to our west, low pressure to be east. Bit of cold snap potential maybe with those Aprils. All Mays combined, that looks better for the Mays. Higher pressure building towards the north and winds going in excuse me, to more of an easterly direction, so perhaps a slightly drier and warmer signal for the Mays. And then finally, all Springs combined mode looking quite unsettled with low pressure control. But bear in mind, May does look a lot better if you want a drier and warmer outcome. Right, we're done. There we are, everyone. We are off and running with our latest season of no, we're off and running. I love a little bundle of fluff. We're off and running with our latest season of Long Range. And as I say, we're going to be bringing you spring updates every week from now, right way through to the end of February. That's where we'll release our spring forecast. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for everyone for doing that. And also, can I say thank you so much to Richard and also to Shryan as well. Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you so much, Ryan, for all of the help on this video. We're going to have 10-14 day coming through a little bit later on, and then we're live at 6 p.m, so I shall see you then for that. But for this first spring 2024 update, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.